Hey everyone, this is David and Max coming at you with another DevBlog/vlog. This week we're going to be going through the tanks of the Phoenix.
So right now we have 4 tank classifications, which are the heavy tanks, the multi-shot tanks, the speed tanks, and the hover tanks. And we're going to go kind of into the description of each one of these and let you know what these are all about. So David, if you want to take it away with the heavy shot tanks.
Yeah, so the heavy tanks. They say the best defense is a good offense. And they were right. Oh, coming at you with some more dad one-liners. So yeah, so the main tanks is the one that the player will start with, and it's the heavy tanks is a versatile machine that can take on like most any foe that it comes across. It's like the perfect balance of like accuracy and fire rate, and it's the perfect balance of like speed and armor. It's not the absolute strongest, but it's
well-rounded.
Yeah, it's well-rounded. That's the best way to put that.
So the little bit of the story behind it is that this tank was forged from pre-war schematics, but it was upgraded with essentially like a giant blade on the front of it, which you'll see in the turntable in this video. And this basically just allows it to plow through anything in its path. Buildings, other tanks, you name it, it can take it out.
It actually has like this vibrating quality that allows it to like go through concrete that's been reinforced by steel, so it's not just your average snow plow. This thing can like take down massive walls and structures.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a force to be reckoned with. And it doesn't really end there with it being a force to be reckoned with, because it's equipped with a large caliber cannon and 2 rotating turret guns on each side that can just unleash a whole hell of a lot of damage, man. I mean, it's gonna be rough for the enemies. Let's put it that way.
Oh yeah.
And we want to get to, if we can, to have some stretch goals of being able to upgrade the miniguns with rocket launchers, which would be equally as awesome.
You got the tank rounds, but then you've got, you know, rockets coming out your sides too, and like it's gonna just get all kinds of blowing up and awesomeness.
So for the boost in our game, we call it Hell Soil, which I'll give a little description of that. It's basically essentially this universe's world of nitrous, and this tank comes with 4 canisters of it, so it can blast through. It gives it that extra oomph when you're running through a building or a enemy defense wall or any of the turrets that you come across. It can boost you straight through them, like butter, like a hot knife through butter, I should say.
Oh yeah. This is how you go from 0 to 60 in no seconds flat in a tank.
oh yeah. And then for its defenses, it has a shield around it that can absorb pretty much like any missiles or ballistics that come at it. Think almost kind of like if you played Halo, how Master Chief has a shield around his armor. It's kind of similar to that in the sense of like it can just take up to a certain point of damage, you know, and then it starts affecting your tank because the shield depletes.
Then you have to get out of the hot water and let it come back up, you know, so that you can get back into the fun.
Oh yeah, man, that regeneration, it's slow, but it's worth it, because if you get down to just the tank itself, it can get real dicey real quick with all the enemies that we're going to be throwing at you.
So the tank actually does have a decent amount of like plating. It can take a few hits. It can take a few hits, but whatever damage is done to the actual tank and not the shield, that's permanent. And you'll actually start to see it like smoking, and oh my goodness, too much damage, it starts to like catch on fire, and then you know eventually you get to the point where it's just you're done.
It gets real dicey real quick.
All right, so now we're moving on to the multi-shot tanks.
Whoop whoop.
I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to blow some stuff up. It is an awesome amount of ordnance that this thing can just launch, unlike its counterpart, the heavy tanks. This thing is equipped with 2 large cannons instead of the single fire cannon, and it can just shoot rocket after rocket after rocket at the enemy. It's an incredible piece of machinery.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So total it has 18, which is it's man. I mean, I can't wait for you guys to play it because it just feels so nice to just destroy everything. That with the miniguns, it's almost like it's not fair. You know, I mean, there's still a challenge. Don't get me wrong, but it's just they feel totally different from each other. Like the heavy shot tank, and this is not to like diss the heavy shot tanks at all, because the heavy shot tanks is a beast within itself too, but the way they just play totally different, and it's great. The one thing that's surprising is because it's so big, you would think that it's slower, and while the turn radius is probably slower, the overall speed isn't, because it's equipped with 2 extra canisters of hell soil, which makes it 6, and the heavy shot only has 4. So it can get up and get just like the heavy shot tanks can.
It drains a little faster because of that, but it can still get up and go.
Driving that thing through a building, it's just, oh man, just glorious. And the shields are the same pretty much across the board for the heavy and the double shot tank, while the double shot tank does have more initial health. Like when the shield is depleted, it has more health than the heavy shot tank does.
Yeah, because it's the same technology as far as the shield goes, but because the tank is bigger, it has more plating, and it has more places that it can take a rocket, and so of course that means that you have a little bit more wiggle room when it comes to life after the shield. They're all my favorite, but the multi-shot tanks is just so much fun to just wreak havoc. So with a single shot tank, you pick a target, you line up your fire, and then you boom, rocket lands at your target. With a multi-shot tank, you just hold down and just pray and spray. It's fantastic.
Yeah, the rapid fire is unreal.
So the speed tanks got a blast. So this tank is designed for speed. It's designed to go through like literally the roughest terrain and just go super fast and just completely ignore what is going over the top of.
So this tank is designed. It looks completely different from all the other ones, and the reason for that is like why it's so fast and it can cover so much rough terrain is because it is a single track tank, which is really useful because in this abyss that you have to fight in, I mean, there's sinkholes after sinkholes, there's dunes that you have to climb up. It's very hard, especially when you have like something like the multi-shot tank, which is really heavy, and same with the heavy tank. Obviously it has heavy in the name. It's really hard for them to get maximum amounts of speed and not to kind of just sink in the sand.
The speed tanks it's basically, it's a motor and a wheel with 2 guns strapped to the side. It's not this armor-plated behemoth or anything. It's this wheel of spinning death.
It's definitely got the need for speed, man. I mean, it can't take the hits like the other tanks can, but I mean, the agility in it and is just through the roof. I mean, this is definitely something. It's almost like a rogue type character. You want to attack and then back off, attack and then back off, because it can be really precise in the amount of firepower, but it just can't take the hits like the other ones can.
It can corner really easily. Like this is the one where you're trying to outmaneuver your opponent because you've got the upper hand on speed and maneuverability.
And that's kind of it for the speed tanks. These 2 tanks that we're talking about right now, which are the speed tanks and the hover tanks, they're still kind of in early development because we haven't reached those levels that they've arrived at yet. So kind of bear with us with we gave a little bit of longer explanations for the first two, and these two are going to be a tad bit shorter just because they're not fully fleshed out yet.
All right, and last but not least, the hover tanks. Tanks with freaking laser beams. So what's super awesome about this tank is that it's equipped with large caliber ion cannons, and it still has the two mounted minigun turrets on each side. But this ion cannon can just wipe out enemies in ways that traditional rockets just could not.
It can go Super Saiyan, essentially.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to all the Dragon Ball Z fans out there.
Over 9,000 damage laser beam.
It's over 9,000. But this hover tank was really designed for land to water combat and making it just easy for the tank to traverse over, basically going straight from land to water. So this hover tanks was designed for land to water combat. Basically, it being able to hover allows it to just traverse over most things with just making it easy breezy, I should say. Especially with like landmines and water mines, like it's just risky business, and like none of those other tanks can handle that. So it just makes it easier for to take command of the hover tanks and go full speed with that.
Plus you never know exactly whenever you're going to hit a sinkhole or quicksand whenever you're going through a shallow water marsh or something like that. And so what this does is it allows you to just skim the surface. That way you're not impeded by what seems to be the impenetrable wall of water that has been keeping the enemies safe so far.
So one thing that really makes this hover tanks unique is that instead of the hell soil canisters being on the back of the tanks, they're actually underneath it. And the thought behind it is it releases a massive amount of pressure underneath the tanks, jolting it really high in the air, allowing the tank's operator to kind of get a bird's eye view of their surroundings and basically being able to traverse impossible terrains that the other tanks, quite frankly, just can't handle.
Say like you get a cliff that other tanks wouldn't even be able to like ramp up. In this tank you can boost, and instead of boosting forward, you boost up and over your obstacles. And so it's gonna be a different way to traverse, and we're thinking it's gonna be a lot of fun. So
oh yeah. And I think that really covers it for our tanks.
Yeah. Well, hey, thank you everybody for joining us again for this DevBlog blog this week, and stay tuned for more episodes, and check out our Facebook page, our Instagram page, our Twitter page. We've got a whole lot of different social medias we're on. So thanks again for staying tuned, and yeah, come on back.
Catch you guys on the flippity flip.